It even sounds scary. CAS has been striking fear into the hearts of IB sophomores for as long as it's been around. But honestly, despite the many components to a CAS, once you get going, it's quite simple. All you have to do is make sure at least two experiences are going on at once, one being your long-term service and the other one being anything of your choosing, as long as it fits into one of the CAS components. But what are those components? Well, let's dive right in. Let's start with creativity. What is creativity? According to your CAS papers, it's something that develops a broader view of the world and oneself through the arts and other creative experiences. Basically, it's something that forces you to think outside of the box. Anything can be creativity as long as you're doing something creative or artsy. You can create art, learn an instrument, dance, or even join a club, as did our first example, Jonathan Chavez, class of 2019, who joined a new club, Junior Statesmen of America, for his creativity aspect.
I just thought it was a very interesting premise. Like, it's a club for debating, which is something I like, and to do it required me to, think about, I had to actually get outside the box a little bit in order to, turn my really terrible abstract thoughts into, something I could debate with someone else. So it was just something I was interested in. Whole point is, as a bit of a debate club, is you have to try to convince the other person that you're right, and that's not an easy task. You have to understand what they're on about, and you got to figure out how to get around it. It definitely takes a lot of thinking about it. You gotta really use your creativity to do it. It's not creative in the sense that most people think of creating, like, I'm not taking two pieces of paper, making some origami or nothing like that, but it does require you to, think outside the box.
Next, activity. What is activity? According to your CAS papers, it's physical involvement contributing to a healthy lifestyle while complementing academic work elsewhere in the diploma program. Essentially, for this one, IB wants you to get sweaty. You can't just expect to sit around all day and be a well-rounded student, so this experience involves getting up and doing something active. Most people join sports for this because it's easy to find a supervisor, they'll just be your coach, and that way you don't have to set the practice schedule yourself. Our two examples are two sports here at LHS, tennis and color guard.
I wanted to be a part of a sports team, but I didn't want to have to be pressured into like having to be varsity or JV or something. I just wanted to have fun after school doing a sport.
I chose tennis because it's a good school sport, and as Darby said, it's no cut. And it's a nice activity because although there is a lot of activity in it, it's really flexible a lot of times, so it was nice to know that we didn't have to participate in practice every day if we really couldn't. And so yeah, it was flexible.
I think tennis is a really good choice for activity because you're being active, but unlike track where you have to do like suicides up the bleachers, tennis is active, but you don't feel like you want to die at practice. You feel like you're just like working out. It's like simple, but like good.
Yeah, and you get a lot of exercise off of it, like without having to feel like you died during practices. So, yeah.
Color guard is a great choice for activity because it is a fun performance sport that combines dance and equipment work in a way that hardly makes you feel as though you're exercising at all because you're just enjoying it. As if that weren't enough, it also counts for creativity, and since there are 2 different seasons, it runs almost year-round. Here you can see the 2018 Winter Guard practicing with their flags before their final competition. Finally, service. What is service? According to your CAS papers, it's an unpaid and voluntary exchange that has a learning benefit for the student, in which the rights, dignity, and autonomy of all those involved are respected. Simply put, it's something you do for others in which you get paid not in money, but in learning experiences. You don't want to be working for someone, you want to be working with someone. Also, any service projects should help meet one of the 8 United Nations Millennium Development Goals, shown here. Why don't you need experiences that are just service? Between your long-term service and your 8-week project, which both require a service element, you should be covered for all of your CAS service experiences. Some people, however, choose to do a 3rd service experience, like Jason Reed, class of 2019, who is shown here shoveling mulch at his 3rd service experience, volunteering at the 4-H. What is the long-term service experience? This 18-month experience requires 2 CAS components, at least one of which must be service, and it has to be continuous for all 18 months. That means that unless you end up having an issue with your 18-month experience and it gets delayed or interrupted, if you begin in August, this experience should end in early 2nd semester your senior year. Some common long-term service projects include working at Suncoast Hospice, YMCA's, Largo Library, or animal shelters. It's also okay to think outside the box and create a wholly new 18-month service project that is unique to you, as long as it meets the requirements. Here are some examples. Joshua Bronto, class of 2018, who is shown here in the blue shirt, was a dedicated volunteer to Suncoast Hospice for his 18-month service project. When asked why he decided to volunteer at hospice, he said that it was a common place for Largo IB students to volunteer, so he wouldn't feel out of place. Also, he wants to go into healthcare as a profession, so it gave him some experience in the field. To him, the best part about volunteering at Suncoast Hospice was that he was in control of his own schedule, which allowed flexibility with volunteer hours. Quote, "You do what you can, when you can." For my personal 18-month service project, I chose to return to my old elementary school, Ridgecrest Elementary, to work with the Spanish immersion program there. Since you're high school students, many schools will be quite open to allowing you to volunteer there, and it's a great opportunity if you like working with kids. I loved working with the kids as well as strengthening my Spanish skills while volunteering there, and it was honestly one of my favorite parts of my CAS experience. Now let's talk about the 8-week project. What is it? Known to most simply as the CAS project, this 2-month-long experience must include at least 2 of the 3 CAS components. This is different from the long-term service experience in 2 major ways, other than length. 1, you must be a leader on this project and help to plan and start it instead of following along on someone else's ideas. And 2, this project must include some form of collaboration. So it's okay if multiple people all pitch in on the same 8-week CAS project as long as they're all leaders within the project. Here are 2 examples. One that was a new idea within the class of 2019 and one that happens every year. Pay attention, for some of you may end up doing something similar.
We wanted to do Relay for Life for our CAS project, but then it was on the graduation day, so we couldn't do it. So we did something similar to that. We cooperated with the cancer organization, St. Jude's Hospital. So it's Kids Cancer organization. So what we did was, it was 2 months of fundraising with the volunteers that we had. And then by the end of 2 months, we ended it with the event with food, music, and games. And together we raised $900, which is very successful and great. You gain a lot of skills outside of school, which is like organizing skill, business skill, if you want to call that, like business skill, because like you have to get like sponsors and like, you know, estimate the amount that you want to make out of what you had and everything like that, and collaborating skill. Let's see. You gain a lot of skills. That's all I know. And then because that's all IB wants from you. They want you to get a lot of skills, not just from school but outside of school. So I think that's a good choice. The first advice that I would say is don't stress out yourself by like, you know, consider it beforehand, like don't just like wait to the last minute, and also do something that is new to you. Like don't do something that you would like and then feel comfortable in, because IB don't want you to get comfortable. Like IB wants you to gain more skills, new skills, not just something that you already had.
I think you should choose something like talk to the people that have already done the sport and ask them how much they have to practice. Like ask them how much you're gonna have to be dedicated to something, because junior year is like really stressful. So if you can't practice like for 5 hours after school or ridiculous stuff like that, you shouldn't.
They're gonna try to ask you to make this whole big plan about how you're gonna fill your letters, what activities you're gonna do over the whole time, and you could do what I did and just kind of be like, whatever, and just kind of take stuff as it goes along. But it's just so much harder when you're actually doing it if you kind of just messed around like that. Plan ahead. That's probably the best advice I could give in relation to CAS, honestly. Plan ahead, ask around, know what you're doing before you do it.
Don't be like Jonathan.
Don't be like me. Yes, ma'am, that's a fact.
If you end up with an activity that you don't enjoy, it's just going to be a lot of work, and you're just going to dread it.
All in all, you have to remember that IB wants you to be a well-rounded and worldly student. Try to branch out in your experiences. Don't just do the same kind of thing for every experience. If you love animals, maybe you can volunteer at an animal shelter for your 18-month project, but try to make the rest of your experiences different. Challenge yourself through your CAS project, and I promise you, you won't be disappointed, because when it comes down to it, it might sound scary, but CAS is really, really fun.
There's a cat! I love her. Look at her. She's beautiful. Hi.
She is.